Hey, money makers. Welcome to another episode of Taking Stock Live. I'm your host, Kalilah Reynolds, bringing you all the latest business news and telling you how it will affect you and your money. Tonight, we are talking to somebody who is an OG to this show. Well, I guess you, the OGs who have been in tune with us from 2019 and beyond, you will know who this is. But for our newbies, you may not know because she hasn't been on the show in a while. But it's great to be able to talk to ProfitJumpstarter's Keisha Bailey. They've been all over the news lately, all over Jamaica with announcements and scholarships and conference, and a lot of things have been going on with our girl. So we're going to be talking more to Keisha Bailey a little bit later on in the show. And of course, later on, we also have the analyst standing by. But before we get all of that, I want to remind you to like the video. Like up the video, peeps, subscribe to the channel, and of course, share with a friend. Let them know what is going on. And let me know in the comments, where are you joining us from? What part of Jamaica and what part of the world? Let me know in the chat. Up next, we've got, here's a look at what's coming up in tonight's show, followed by what's hot in business. And of course, let's get this money.
On this episode of Taking Stock, ProfitJumpstarter is partnering with the Ministry of Education to teach educators financial literacy. What else is in store for the newly launched ProfitJumpstarter Academy? Founder of ProfitJumpstarter Keisha Bailey joins us live to discuss. And the analysts weigh in on the latest market developments. How has the S&P 500 been performing since the start of the year? We'll discuss.
Here's what's hot, brought to you by JMMB Group, your best interest at heart.
Summer 2024 is officially the hottest on record, according to Copernicus Climate Change Service. According to the agency, average temperatures from June to August were 0.03 degrees Celsius higher than last year. August 2024 was tied with August 2023 as the warmest August globally, and the 12 months from September 2023 to August 2024 were also the warmest on record. The agency said 2024 will likely become the warmest year on record. Mayberry Jamaican Equities has raised over $3 billion on the bond market so far this year. The company listed 3 bond tranches earlier this year, raising a total of $3.4 billion, the largest of any bond listing in 2024. They also just upsized their current bond offer. The current offer is set at 10.75% and matures in 18 months. The minimum purchase is $20,000, followed by increments of $10,000. Jamaica has secured access to $1.2 billion in rainy day funds from the International Monetary Fund. Jamaica now has access to $258 million under the Resilience and Sustainability Facility RSF, and about $980 million under the Precautionary and Liquidity Line. The IMF granted access to the funds after reviewing the country's financial support programs. The Finance Ministry emphasized that although these funds are ready to be deployed if necessary, they are just a precautionary measure for severe economic shocks or natural disasters. Chip manufacturing company Nvidia recorded the biggest one-day market cap decline for any U.S. company in history. Last Tuesday, the company's stock price dropped 10% from $116 US to $108. This steep decline resulted in Nvidia losing $279 billion US in market value. Nvidia was not the only tech stock to record major losses. Apple, Microsoft, and Google were also down for the day. The chip maker is reportedly being investigated by the U.S. Department of Justice for antitrust violations.
Money is like a child at an amusement park. If you don't give it some rules and tell it exactly where to go and what to do, it's gonna get lost and in trouble. If you've ever found yourself wondering, where did all my money go? Build Your Budget is for you. If you've been trying to plan for a big purchase but feel like you will never get there, Build Your Budget is for you. If you need a flexible spending plan, Build Your Budget is for you. And if you're spending more than you earn, Build Your Budget is for you.
And ever since downloading that budget and actually applying it, I paid off my credit card, I paid off my tuition loan, and I bought my first pair of Tory birds.
Hey,
And it was in the budget.
How important it is to budget, how important it is to plan your money, to tell your money where to go, and how important it is to hold yourself accountable.
So, are you ready to accept this mission? Click the button below to get started. Welcome back to Taking Stock. Let me see who we have in the chat tonight and where you guys are from. Roger says, Philly in the house. Kish says, good night to the money makers. Dwight checking in from Spanish Town. We got Antoinette from Arizona in the house. Dwight saying he's looking for a good end of year in the equities market. Good luck with that, Dwight, because so far 2024 has not been great to us, at least here in Jamaica. Danielle is in Trelawney, but next year, though, 2025 will be the year. Danielle's in Trelawney. We have Sean, who is ready and waiting. Nano Sen says, not Trump nor Harris can't stop the show, watching from far, far away. Yeah, the presidential debate is on right now. So I am grateful for you guys watching this show while Trump and Harris are going at it, but we'll watch it later because I want to see what's going on. JT is in the Cayman Islands. We have Javier live from Clarendon. We got Kish joining from the UK, SC in Charlotte, North Carolina. Robert says, Clarendon badness in the house. Rough up the money and let's get this money. Rough up the money tree and let's get this money. Big up yourself, Robert. Dennis is in NYC. Richard is in Turks and Caicos. Javier wanting to know, when does that Mayberry stock close out? The bond? I'm not sure. You can check it. Just Google Mayberry bond. Go on their website and they can tell you when it is. I thought it was closed already, but maybe not. Just Google it. You can easily find out what is going on. So how are you doing to the money makers? Hope all is well. It is my pleasure to introduce our guest for this evening, none other than Keisha Bailey from ProfitJumpstarter. Hello, hello, Keisha.
Hi. Hello. Thanks for having me on.
Keisha, going with a bag of things these days.
Dear things. Feels I guess different to be on this side versus usually on the analyst side.
Right. Yeah. And listen, every time I open my phone, like you're there. You're on, it's not on your social media, it's on some article or some interview. You are doing the most, girl, and I mean that in a great way, in a good way.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a lot happening, a lot of things with Profit Jumpstarter. Definitely we're pushing on in terms of financial literacy and making sure that we get a really big impact. That's the overall mission.
Absolutely. You change up the background a little bit too. I see some flowers. Paintings
this
there.
Is a Canadian background back in Canada.
So that's what it is. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I see. So for those of our viewers who are the OGs, they are very well familiar with you, but we have new people joining us every single week. So just tell them who you are and what you do.
All right, so you are looking at the lovely Keisha Bailey. I'm the CEO of Profit Jumpstarter. I am also a financial expert. I have been in the financial sector now for probably almost 20 years. Do I look nice and fresh and green? It's been a lot of years, a lot of experience. These days, I am running Profit Jumpstarter, and the mission of Profit Jumpstarter is to teach people how to build wealth, how to get to that next level on your wealth journey. And we do that several ways. We host events. We just had our big conference in August, the Build Wealth Conference. That was amazing. We also recently launched my book, Get Serious About Wealth. That came out this year, and it's available on Amazon, available at Fontana, Waterloo. So lots of learning with that workbook. And also, we have our Profit Jumpstarter Academy. Now, with Profit Jumpstarter Academy, that is where you come to learn how to make more money through smart investing. And it also has a really nice online investor community, all in one platform. We have a big announcement that came out during the conference with regards to us teaching 200 teachers about financial literacy. So whole lot of things happening, lots of stuff going on.
Yes, so definitely a lot to ask you about and a lot more to expand upon. But let's start with that announcement with the teachers. How did that come about, this partnership with the Ministry of Education?
So a big thing for me is impact. As we push and we teach persons about money, I wanted to find ways that we could expand the reach of what we're doing. And then as I think of myself as a teacher and educator on financial literacy, I thought, let's teach the teachers about finances, because when the educators know, they will teach other people. And so we get that whole multiplicative effect, because I'll teach the teachers, and then the teachers will teach the students, students will teach their friends, the teachers will teach their families, and so more persons will be able to learn about financial literacy. Because one thing's for sure, if you don't know your money, you can't grow your money. So persons need to first understand that, right? Know your money to grow your money. So the more people that understand how money works are the more people then who are going to be able to grow that money, and the bigger and better Jamaica will be.
How does the scholarship portion work? Do people have to apply, or are they already selected?
Yeah, great question. So we are working through the Ministry of Education now to send out the notices to the teachers. We are going to be going through an application process where we're going to send that email out, and the teachers who want to opt into the scholarship, they're going to be able to apply and then go in. And then from that, now we're going to start rolling out the program and the curriculum in terms of the education. So teachers who are watching, look out soon in your inbox. You're gonna see an email. Jump in quick if you are ready and eager to take up one of those scholarships that are going to be offered.
And it's open to other people as well. So yes, you have the 200 scholarships, but if you don't make it in the 200, you can always pay, or your school can pay for you to attend. You can lobby your school for the funds to make that happen.
So the Profit Jumpstarter Academy is open to everybody, not just teachers. If you want to join, you just go to ProfitJumpstarterAcademy.com and you can join. The teachers are going to be there with you. You'll see them there, as well as there are many other persons inside the academy. Right now, we are going through a series of different types of investments that we're looking at. We talk about money all day, every day inside the academy. So feel free, if you feel like, I need a money circle, want to talk about some money making opportunities, I want to see what the different ways that I can make my money multiply, the academy is definitely where you want to be, for sure.
Is it going to be an annual thing, the scholarships, or it's a one-off?
I honestly, my bigger plan, honestly, is to eventually impact the overall curriculum of schools and bring financial literacy as part of the curriculum. That's the end goal. But, we're starting with baby steps and working through. So the plan is that we want to start now with the teachers, take our learning from that, get the impact from that, and then go to that next level to ultimately impact the curriculum and get that financial literacy built in, because that's really where we're going to see even more change coming, when it's actually a part of the curriculum, where you're learning maths, English, biology, trigonometry, calculus. You're learning about the solar system, but you're also learning about the banking system. You're learning about the money system as well. That is really where we're going to see that big transformation.
Amazing. Tell me about the conference, the Build Wealth conference. I was there. Yeah. It was like at least twice as big as it was last year. When I walked in the room, I was like, okay, what is this?
Yeah.
It's a huge event.
So the conference got really big this year. This was our second staging. The Build Wealth conference was August 16 to 18. So the first year we had it, I think we had about, 150 to 200 persons, and it was just one day. This year we decided, we could just go big with the thing. If we're going to go big, we're going to go big. So we had doubled in numbers. We're at 300 persons. We took out all of the AC hotel rooms, fully sold out. People turned up on the day and had to be turned back because we never have no more seat. We were full. And it was a great experience. Over the period of 2 days, we had Kalilah, delivering around work-life balance. We had other speakers as well talking about different types of investments and how you can make your money work for you right now. We looked also at AI, which is a big, big game changer. We talked about women in business, entrepreneurship, lots of different topics. And the general feedback was that, it was a good conference. There was a lot of learning, lots of connections. Let me tell you, people came. I'm hearing a lot of anecdotal stories around deals and who are partnered up for do this, who know has new contracts, who is doing, new products. A lot of the sponsors that came on board, they're supporting a lot of the Profit Jumpstarter community in terms of opening accounts, getting loans, getting mortgages, getting business deals, getting insurance, getting different types of investments so they can get further along on their journey. So it's nice to see. Really and truly, I'm very passionate about people making money. I know anybody can be wealthy. And the more I can do to show persons that wealth is possible, and the more I can do to actually help people to implement this wealth, it just brings joy to my life, brings fulfillment. That's really what keeps me going every day, despite the work hard. But that's really what fuels me every day.
Let me tell you, when I attended and I saw the amount of people there and, what the value proposition was, like, you motivated me, Keisha, because I've been dragging my foot on Money Week for like 2 years now. And
yes.
I haven't made proper efforts to get it done. And when I saw that, I'm like, okay, Money Week is something that needs to happen. Because clearly the demand is there and the interest is there.
Yeah, we definitely need to create more spaces where we talk about money, right? People have them online platform, they might talk about Netflix, they might talk about Bridgerton and what happened, but who's talking about money? Who is out there saying, hey, me and my friend, I'm going to talk about different ways that we can partner to make some money. Who can we collaborate with? What kind of joint ventures can we do together? What opportunities are out there? Simple things like, I see a nice investment. I see something in the stock market, whether in Jamaica or the US. Are you calling your friends and talking to them and say, yeah, let's get in on this. Let's open up our accounts together. Let's open our international account. Let's make sure that we're buying stocks every month. Those conversations don't really happen within our community. So I'm very passionate about creating that space for those kind of conversations. So the money make. It's made in these rooms. And so, of course,
because there are probably people who are saying, but Kalilah, don't you have Money Mission? Or you have Keisha on here promoting Profit Jumpstarter Academy? Aren't you guys like competing? But I don't see it that way. I see it as an abundance because there's so many people who need the message. I can't reach everybody. You can't reach everybody. And that's why I like partnering with you and partnering with other people who have the same mission so that we can expand the audience. Your audience plus my audience is double the audience.
And even just for the two of us, when you look at the Jamaican population, it's over 3 million persons, but less than 10% of the population are investors. So we really have our work cut out for us.
Exactly.
Right? Over 90% of the country is not investing. And as much as, we have great platforms, you have Taking Stock, I have Money Classroom that come on, people still not invest. I was out there, saying, go, you have to invest to build with, and it's still not happening to the scale I would want. So definitely collaboration is what will move the needle. And I'm very happy to be on because I think we share that same mission and passion to make people be wealthy.
Yeah, and I love seeing more financial content creators out there as well. You see more and more of them coming up every day.
Yeah.
Not all of them are credible. That's a different story. But people are making the attempt to educate themselves and to learn more. And one of the things I love about it is that it takes the pressure off of me. Because when I was one of just a handful of people talking about it, then, everything that happens, Kalilah, what do you think about this? Kalilah, what about that?
Yeah.
Now I can send them to Keisha's page if I don't have time just to answer the question.
Yeah. No, and the algorithms that a lot of people don't get to end up seeing really relevant content to make them make more money. So the more that we can do to spread the word and having online platforms where people can come together to learn is really a big game changer, because you're not gonna see everything on Instagram. You're not gonna see everything on TikTok. But if there's a dedicated, curated space where come here to learn what go on, come here to learn how to make money with stocks, learn how to make money with real estate, learn how to make money through your business, you come, you learn, you make more money, and that's what we want.
Exactly. So I have a question from YOLO Stars, because you were talking about the conference and people making deals and getting loans behind the scenes. So YOLO says, isn't taking out a loan, or doesn't taking out a loan contradict the whole point of investing?
YOLO, let me teachable moment here, YOLO. So when we use other people's money, which is the best money ever, when we use other people's money to buy assets, that's what we want. And that's the kind of loans we take. We take loans to buy assets that will grow in value over time so that we can pay back the loan and still have money. When you take a loan to go and buy something for consumption, meaning you take a loan for to buy shoes, take a loan for a costume, for a party, you're consuming that and then there's no return. We don't really like that. That don't make no sense. It brings you down financially. So the loans, the deals that I'm talking about from the conference are people buying real estate, people investing in different business ventures, that kind of loan. Those are what we're talking about.
Yeah, so Kish says Michael Leachin does that. He's always talking about OPM, not the office of the prime minister, other people money.
It's the best money out there. Yes.
Who down with OPP? Yeah, you know me. Old school. Yeah. All right. So before we go, Keisha, so a couple of things. You have this deal with the Ministry of Education. As you may have heard, our finance minister, Dr. Nigel Clark, is heading to the IMF. We still have not heard officially who is going to replace him, but popular sentiment seems to be leaning towards Fayval. I don't know if that's what the PM is going to do, but Fayval Williams is our Minister of Education, and Profit Jumpstarter Academy has that deal with the Ministry of Education. Do you think it will be affected in any way?
No, we're actively rolling out the program. No. And that's the beauty of, having a fully organized structure. What we're doing with rolling out financial literacy to the teachers is not dependent on a single person. There's an entire administration behind the minister. And so we're working with the agencies of the Ministry of Education to actually roll out the program. So no impact. We still are going. Financial literacy still a keep. Check your email. It's coming soon.
Any other collaborations in the works?
Yeah, a few. I can't really disclose them here because, contracts and all that. But we have a few things up our sleeves that we want to roll out. Again, can't really bust them for the legal reasons, but there are a few partnerships that we're looking at because, again, the aim is that we want to teach people how to make more money. And we want to do that in a platform where the information is readily accessible. To make that happen, I'm a very big believer that knowledge is nothing without execution. So we need to make sure you learn, but we also need to make sure you implement what you learn. And that takes partnership. I can't do everything by myself. So that's what we're kind of working through now in terms of setting up those partnerships. So when people learn, they can go implement so the money flows.
So I'm shocked that nobody in the chat has asked yet because they always ask every guest that comes on the show. But let me ask on their behalf because they're probably thinking it. Any plans to take Profit Jumpstarter public?
No. No, not immediately. The main thing for me, I'm going public is, I say Sean Brown just asking it. No, I'm taking Profit Jumpstarter public, not on the immediate horizon right now. Why? When you understand what really goes into requirements around being a listed company, and I wouldn't want to be, but I am a professional. I believe in how corporate governance structure should work. And I wouldn't be doing an IPO unless I'm able to execute on all of the requirements that are needed, while also being in a position where we can attribute wealth to our shareholders continuously. So not quite ready to do that right now. So IPO not on any discussion table at the moment.
What about for the long term? Because you said not no, but long term, of the
Yeah.
plan?
The thing is, I know too many ways to make money and to access people money. I wouldn't necessarily need that because IPOs come with a lot of requirements, regulatory
That's true.
requirements. I spent 20 years being a heavily regulated person. It's triggering, even now thinking about it. Don't really I look to attract any regulation and on myself at this point. So I'll stick to the education, stick to teaching people how to make more money because I get the passion, I get the fulfillment without all of the regulatory forms and the headaches that come with that.
Sean says, what about private investing?
Yeah, Sean, I pick up the thing. Yeah, for sure, because other people's money is the best money. Through private channels, you know, you're able to access funds without all of these regulatory requirements tied to it. So definitely that's on the table for sure. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Keisha, the teacher. Love having you on as usual.
Thank you for having me on, and you know, just love what you're doing as well. And as we work together and collaborate, I just want to leave by telling persons that wealth is possible. Don't feel that you know you can't have no money, you can't be wealthy. Check out all of the resources. I said Profit Jumpstarter Academy being one of them. Are you buy the book? Get serious about wealth, but don't stay in the same situation that you're in and feel that you know this is it for me. I can't be wealthy. We can't have no money. I'm gonna stay like Keisha. I'm gonna stay like Kalilah. You are you, and you can have money and be wealthy.
Where is the book available?
So the book is on Amazon globally. You can grab it there, or you can go to Fontana on Waterloo Road and grab copies there as well.
And remind us of the website for Profit Jumpstarter Academy.
ProfitJumpstarteracademy.com.
Easy peasy.
Yeah, I know about easy websites. Yeah, ProfitJumpstarteracademy.com is where you go to join the Profit Jumpstarter Academy. You can also join our newsletter and get all the money tips and tricks. It's ProfitJumpstarter.com/newsletter.
All right. Yeah. Sean wants to know what's in the book. Sean, go on Amazon and find out. There's a summary up there. We're wrapping up the interview now. Thank you, Keisha.
Get serious about wealth. Buy, do the exercises, make some money. Yes, Sean.
I bought my copy.
Yes.
I'll tell you that. I did. All right. Thanks again, Keisha, the teacher. And there's a very specific reason, viewers, why I end by calling her Keisha the teacher. We call her that all the time on this show. She calls herself that because her show is Money Classroom. But our poll question tonight is about a different teacher. Are you going to Vybz Kartel's Freedom Street concert? Boy, is this what's going on in business news this week? Are you going to Vybz Kartel's Freedom Street concert? It is a business story, somewhat. It's an entertainment business story because it is expected to have a massive impact based on the number of people who probably will be flying in. Airbnbs are going to be full. Kingston hotels are going to be full. There's going to be traffic on the road. There is going to be a lot of, I mean, it's already a time in the economy where a lot of economic activity is happening because it's Christmas time, New Year's time. But I expect a lot of or a significant impact from this concert. So that's why I'm asking, are you planning to go to Vybz Kartel's Freedom Street concert? Here are your options. Yes, world boss free. B, no. Have you seen those ticket prices? It's another thing. Ticket prices, well, dear, and yet they're sold out. C, I haven't decided yet. D, waiting until the next ticket drop. E, other, leave a comment. Are you going to Vybz Kartel's Freedom Street concert? The other teacher, aka the world boss, regardless of how you may feel about him on a personal level, the music speaks for itself. So leave your answers in the chat. You can also take the poll on the community tab of our YouTube channel, as well as over on X, formerly known as Twitter, or just leave a comment in the chat and let us know what your thoughts are. Are you going? Do you have any plans to go? So while you're doing that, let me just say thanks to all of you who attended the webinar last night, 5 budgeting mistakes. And as the title implies, it's all about budgeting. So here's a short clip. So the truth is, I even though I love, or not, I wouldn't even say love, I kind of love it now, but even though I liked budgeting and the satisfaction of it, I hated the feeling of the penny pinching. Like you always have to be pinching pennies, scrambling here and there, and accounting for every little thing. I didn't really like how that made me feel, especially in the beginning. And I hated feeling restrained by my budget because, like some of you have been pointing out in the chat, you don't like it because there is a feeling of restraint, a feeling that you can't do certain things because your budget won't allow you to do certain things. And when you live by that budget, it kind of makes it hard for you to enjoy your money, right? But that's not what we are going after today, because guess what? You control your budget. Your budget doesn't control you. Say it with me. Type it in the chat. You control your budget. Your budget doesn't control you. Actually, say it in the first person. I control my budget. My budget doesn't control me. Me. Cut off right at the end. So it was an interesting time last night. And if you're wondering why my kids' pictures were on the screen, I was making a point just before that about school fees and back to school expenses, which can break your pocket if you do not plan accordingly for it. That back to school budget, that is a thing. So I see Danielle saying that she wanted to attend, but she had a lecture at that time. She really wanted to go. Well, I decided to put it up for another 24 hours. So Danielle, that webinar is on my YouTube channel right now. So right after the show, you can go and watch it. It is only going to be up for, well, it's less than 24 hours now. I think we reposted it this morning. So probably tomorrow morning we take it back down. But you still have an opportunity to watch it. I wanted it to be live only, but people were begging and saying they missed it. So I kept it up for another 24 hours. So you can head on over there next. So I see some comments coming in regarding the poll question. I will take the responses to those comments after the break. Up next, we have your market recap, and our analyst is standing by.
The JC Combined Index lost over 7,000 points last week, or 2%. 126 stocks traded across the main and junior markets for the week ending Friday, September 3, 2024. 33 made gains, 76 lost value, and 17 stayed the same. 320 million shares changed hands on the Jamaican dollar market, valued at $1.7 billion. Omni Industries was the week's most traded stock. It gained 5 cents to open the week at $1.15. Jamaica Producers traded the second highest. The stock lost 5% to open Monday at $21.05. And Regency Petroleum rounded out last week's most traded with 18 million shares changing hands. The stock lost 1 cent to close the week at $2.51. Newcomer R.A. Williams was the market's biggest gainer, up 29%. Cargo Handlers was the week's second biggest gainer, also up 29%. And Knutsford Express was up 17% to close the week at $10.82. On the losing side now, Radio Jamaica was the week's biggest loser. The stock lost almost 19% to open Monday at $1.04. 138 Student Living Variable Preference was down 11%. And JMMB 8.5% USD lost 12 cents to close the week at $1.08 US. Over on the Trinidad and Tobago Stock Exchange, the composite index was flat last week. Massey was the most traded stock. The stock's price was unchanged, opening Monday at $3.50 TT. Endeavour Holdings was the biggest gain of the week. The stock was up 13%, starting the week at $17 TT. And on the losing side, One Caribbean Media fell 15% to open Monday at $3.01 TT. Over in the US, the Dow Jones lost 2% last week, while the S&P 500 dipped 4% and the Nasdaq lost 5%. Motorists got a win at the pumps last week because gas prices fell $2.62. while regular diesel fell $2.06 and low sulfur diesel dipped $2.15. In foreign exchange, it took an average $158.37 Jamaican to purchase $1 last Friday. That's 34 cents more than the week before. Meanwhile, it took an average $118.85 Jamaican to purchase $1 Canadian. One British pound cost on average $209.20 Jamaican, and you could buy €1 for $177.61 Jamaican on average. Finally, on the crypto markets, Bitcoin prices were down almost 5% over the past 5 days, trading at $55,287 US on Monday, while Ethereum prices slid almost 6%, trading at $2,311 US on Monday.
What? It's in the budget. It's in the budget. It's in the budget. It's in the budget. It's in the budget.
Disclaimer: this is not intended as financial advice. Please consult a licensed financial advisor before making investment decisions.
Welcome back. Let me take some of your comments. And just before I do, reminding you to go to moneymissionja.com. We have a brand new website, guys. So I want you to take a look at it and tell me what you think. Even if you're not ready to, join just yet, just take a look at the new website. I am proud of it. Months of work went into that website. It finally launched yesterday. So go check it out, moneymissionja.com, and tell me in the chat what you think of it, what your impression is. So let's take some comments from the chat regarding our poll question today, which was about the other teacher, Vybz Kartel, and the concert coming up at the end of the year. Are you planning to go? So here are some of the comments. Shell says, a better question would be, how do you plan to cash in from the concert? You know who's gonna be making money? Barbers, hairdresser, nail tech. You better make your appointment from now. And on top of that, it's already New Year's Eve. So they're already booked up for that type of, event. New Year's Eve, Christmas, you can't get nail appointments. Lash techs, hello. Yeah. Sean says, Kartel already made his millions. When I make mine, I'll consider paying for those tickets. Philip says, Boys to Men concert, October 26th at UE First. The listed companies involved, Main Event, Supreme Ventures, and Mayberry Investments. You going, Kalilah? I do not have any plans to attend, but who knows? I didn't plan to attend the Buju concert either, and the very last minute, I said, you know what? Why not? YOLO. Roger says, no. Kish says, Kartel, not my type of artist. Patricia says, not interested, waste of money. Shells says, give me the money, rental house and car plus extra. And Javier says, I would go to Kartel concert, but that's before the start of a new school term. So I can't justify spending that type of money after the Christmas season. Totally understandable, Javier. That's the position. You have your priorities in order. School is coming up. You just spend Christmas money. Yeah, I would say put it in the budget, but you have your priorities already. So I can't knock you for that. You're making a reasonable decision based on where your finances are now, and that's the way to go. So let's introduce our analyst for this evening. He is the founder of Wealth Watch JA, Julian Morrison. Welcome back, Julian.
Hey, Kalilah, how are you doing?
I am great. Still repping the Wealth Watch shirt and the brand, I see.
Always,
I know you're working on some changes.
Sure. We have to take our time.
How the crew tonight? The dogs. I don't hear them. They're quiet so far.
Well, I don't want them to hear you because they will answer you. Yeah.
Let me not tempt them, huh?
Yeah, probably 5 minutes time they'll be back. So yeah.
I mean, hey, room in the yard, it's nighttime. So tonight we are talking about the performance of the S&P 500 because we know here in Jamaica it has been a bear market this year. Things are a little bit different over in the United States, particularly on the S&P 500. So what is it looking like across the waters, Julian?
Okay, so let's set some context before we start talking numbers. So the S&P 500 is the main index that we use to talk about US equities. And like in Jamaica, the US equity market is very responsive to moves in the central bank's policy rate. Now, for the last couple of years, the central bank has either increased its policy rate or held it steady. But because of the fact that inflation has trended down in the US for an extended period of time, for the most of 2024 and some of 2023, the central bank has decided to change its posture and say, we don't need to be as aggressive on inflation, and we can now start to relax our policy a little bit. So we don't need to hold the reins as tightly as we did in 2022 and for 2023. Now, in that vein, the central bank is looking to cut its interest rates from where they are now, the policy rate that is. So what that does is that it releases more funding into the market, sends more funding into the money market, and it eventually spills over into the stock market. Because the theory is that when the central bank has higher policy rates, investors are being paid more for not taking any risk, because the banks, central banks, when they issue instruments, they're seen as risk-free. So for example, when the Bank of Jamaica has money market instruments, such as instruments tied to CDs, then those instruments are seen as risk-free. So if I can get a higher return on an asset that doesn't have any risk embedded in it, then I'm not going to go into assets that force me to take risk, like equities and corporate bonds, which is a major factor for why the local market has been so soft for so long. Now, back to the US market, it's slightly different because what has driven the performance over the last year and a half has a lot to do with what is happening in the tech sector. And tech has been more and more dominant, not just because of earnings growth or not just because of AI, but because of fundamental change in the US economy overall, i.e., increased digitization, more products and services that rely on the infrastructure of the internet, and many of the largest companies such as Microsoft, etc. So there is talk that the US Central Bank, which is the US Federal Reserve, is looking to cut the policy rate. There is a market consensus of 4 decreases or 4 cuts for the year. I think that 4 cuts is aggressive because the US economy is still strong. And what it means is that if the economy is still strong, it means that inflation won't fall below a certain level because growth comes with a certain level of inflation. So if growth is above the medium-term average, it means that inflation is likely to be above the medium-term average. And the medium-term average growth rate for the US, GDP growth rate for the US is 2%. And right now, the next projection for Q3 2024 is actually 2.5%. And that's actually lower than the actual result for Q2, less than Q1, but when we average all 3 periods, then it's firmly sits above the 2% average. So if growth is stronger than average, then inflation is likely to be higher than average. So even though the bank feels encouraged enough to relax the policy rate, the US is not totally out of the woods as it relates to inflation overall. But it's definitely not where it was at the start of 2023, or at least the first half of 2023, and of course 2022. So in terms of the performance, the S&P 500 index is actually performing significantly higher than most other equity indices, not just the Jamaica Stock Exchange, but even the Financial Times Select Index in the UK and the indices in Canada and the other indices in Europe, they don't hold a candle to the S&P right now. So year to date, it's up 14.89%, call it 15%.
Nice.
And year over year, it's up 22.5%. So
Nice.
that's a
So what's
significant.
fueling that though, Julian?
So it has a lot to do with the anticipation around the Fed being more relaxed in its posture, number one. So the market is pricing in further reductions in the policy rates, and you're trying to go ahead. So the market consensus is 4 cuts. My estimate is between 1 and 2, based on the fact that the US economy is still strong and that the US economy, well, the central bank is not totally out of the woods as it relates to inflation monitoring. Because even though inflation has what is called a 200, so even though it's in a 2% range, which is the Fed's target to be 2%, it's likely to sit above 2% for the rest of the year. And if it is that inflation is going to be above or likely to be above that 2% target, then we can't believe realistically that there are going to be 4 cuts, because lower interest rates produce inflation. Why would you cut 4 times when inflation still has not reached the target level? It's approaching the target level, but it's still not there as yet. So it's a balancing act. I do agree with the thesis that there's going to be a cut, but it's not 4. More than likely 1 or 2, but that's enough to get the market going as it relates to sentiment and get investors to start looking at sectors, not just carrying the major tech stocks, but sectors such as the banks, the large financial entities, the Goldman Sachs, the Bank of America, the Wells Fargo, etc. These stocks that are very sensitive to what happens to interest rates, investors will feel more confident to go into them because lower interest rates benefit banks, believe it or not. There are persons who believe that higher interest rates will allow banks higher spreads, right? They can charge more loans. But the flip side is that banks also hold a lot of securities. And if these securities are falling in value, then the banks will record what is called an impairment, and that will reduce the profitability of many of these banks, which is what has happened to many of the financial sector players in Jamaica. So lower interest rates benefit banks on balance. So you find that the US market won't just be led by upside in one sector, but we'll start to see more sectors starting to perform better. So financial services is one, consumer discretionary is another, and consumer discretionary is exactly what it sounds like. It's what we spend with our discretionary spending. It's what we buy with our discretionary spending. So the Nikes of the world, and also the airline stocks, etc., travel, leisure, those kind of stocks. There are others that have continued to do well. So healthcare has done well. There's also consumer staples that has done well. So consumer staples is the opposite of consumer discretionary. These are things that we buy, not necessarily with our discretionary income, but we'll buy more habitually because they're more in line with our needs. So Colgate, Procter & Gamble, Campbell Soup, even some things that we wouldn't consider as staples actually fit into the staples category, because even when individuals have a slight decrease in their income, they don't buy less of it.
Like what?
Soda. Pepsi falls under consumer staples.
I mean, soda is cheaper than juice now. I remember when I was growing up,
that's
soda
crazy,
used to be more expensive than juice.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was the same here in Jamaica, but in Belize, when I was growing up, soda was a luxury and juice was cheap because everybody have fruits in them yard. You make your own juice or you buy fruit juices around the neighborhood, and soda was the luxury. We used to get soda at Christmas time. And now soda is cheaper than, the healthier options. You have to pay a premium to buy water with your meal.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. Well, what is special about that is that many of the large beverage manufacturers have a relationship with fast food fast food restaurants. So what you find is that some of the restaurants only sell Pepsi and Pepsi related products, like KFC, and Coca-Cola has a relationship with Burger King and I think Wendy's. So what you find is that they get almost like a commission based on each combo that's sold, and that way they're able to sell more volume. It's not that the water brand is not necessarily tied to the same brand, because all those brands have their own water products, so they do still benefit. But I think it has a lot to do with how they scale and the commission structure that they might have. But yeah, I think that fast food is a major area of opportunity. I'm not advocating for fast food in terms of diet, but as an investment is somewhere to look. I think that's it's one of the areas that pay steady dividends. And what you find is that those stocks don't have as much downside as the tech stocks. So if you don't have the stomach for tech stocks and you still want to be able to collect a steady dividend, then fast food is another area that you can look into as a theme for the portfolio.
So we have a couple of comments and questions in the chat for you, Julian. Let me take some. So the first one is a comment coming from Roswell, who says, NVIDIA is hot topics now. It's in the glory days, just like Microsoft. It's not a bad time for them. Flood the market with chips. Do you agree with that?
Okay, so a little about NVIDIA for persons who might not remember. So NVIDIA is one of the large players as it relates to microchips in the market right now. And as you know, many of our devices, all of them, they need microchips to operate. So whether that's your laptop, whether that's your phone, even other devices that might not be as obvious, they require chips. And that's going to be even more prevalent with the onset of AI and the spread of AI. Now, what NVIDIA does is program the chips and they design the chips, but the production of the chips is outsourced to Taiwan Semiconductors. So they design the chip, send it to TSMC to manufacture, they send it back, and then they basically activate the chip. So that's what NVIDIA does. That's how they make money. It's now the top performing stock for the year on the US market. It might be in the top 3 for the next year or so, because it doesn't have a monopoly necessarily, but it has a great competitive advantage. It's very hard for competitors to try to catch up and replace the market position that NVIDIA has as it relates to where it sits in the value chain. They've been around for a very long time, believe it or not, over 20 years, and they are very dominant where they sit in the market, so much so that they are currently being considered for antitrust accusations in the US, meaning that they have uncompetitive practices, meaning that they're too dominant in their industry, and it's under the ambit of unfair competition as it relates to the US law. That's up for further development, because we don't know what will come of that. But what we know is that their market leadership is very hard to replicate. And I recommended it back in the day.
Yeah, about 2-3 years ago, right here on Taking Stock. I never forget it.
I didn't even remember that I mentioned it on Taking Stock. I remember there was a debate at work over it because I was talking about it and people were saying, boy, what is NVIDIA? Clients don't know that. I say, oh, just chill. Don't worry that the clients don't know. We will guide them and tell them what it is. And this company is going to be one of the knockout performers. Sometimes you have to bet on a dark horse.
It was I think it was around 2021. You did a whole presentation on it here, Julia. I can't believe you forget that.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I specifically remember your presentation on NVIDIA and on Crocs. Yeah. And like a genie, like a fortune teller, your predictions manifested a couple of years later with magnificent returns. I was like, yeah, Julia.
Well, we'll give thanks for that, Sometimes you have to bet on a dark horse. You can't wait on the market take a cue. You can't always chase the market. You have to follow the
Exactly.
data. You have to follow the data. You have to do your homework. I think another one that is likely to do well is Texas Instruments. Many persons know Texas Instruments to make calculators, but they also produce chips, and they also play a role in developing weapon systems for the U.S. government. And I'm of the view that we're going to approach armed conflict in the next 3 years based on what's happening in terms of geopolitics. And
Are we ever out of armed conflict? Isn't Russia, Ukraine still going on? Like, there's always something.
yeah, we are. I'm just thinking that there'll be an escalation, because if you think about it, and this is just me guesstimating now. I'm not a geopolitics expert by any stretch of the imagination, but if Trump wins, Trump is likely to be an aggressor based on his personality. He's pro-US. He's likely to break up supply chains in order to have more manufacturing happening onshore to benefit the US economy. Now, that's likely to harm diplomatic relations between the US and other trading partners such as China. And there's also the consideration of, if Harris wins, what a Harris victory is likely to do is embolden the enemies of the US, because those enemies respond to fear. Many of them fear Trump because they know he is a war dog based on his personality. He's very similar to Bush and those kind of presidents. But Harris is likely to take a similar line to Biden, who will more likely look at negotiation or trying to hit middle ground and not take as an aggressive stance as it relates to armed conflict or direct armed conflict. So Trump is more of a hawk, she's more of a dove. But based on where we are now and the tensions that are at hand, I believe that the US needs a hawk, not a dove. But if she wins and she executes dovish policy, what that will do is give Russia, China, et al. More confidence to be more of an agitative force towards the US. And that will force the US to have to buy more weapons. So in case A, more weapons. Case B, more weapons. So you need to look at weapon manufacturers and programmers of weapons, any entity that's a part of the weapon ecosystem. So Texas Instruments is a part of that. The market is not talking about Texas Instruments, so it might be cheaper than an NVIDIA, for argument's sake.
Very interesting analysis, and bringing it up as well right now, because the debate is actually going on right now. I don't know how closely you've been following their policies, but what do you make of the candidates' economic policies? Like, I know Harris has announced larger tax incentive for small businesses, so up to $50,000 pre-tax for small businesses, and stuff like that. I'm not sure the specifics of Trump's economic policies, but we already know kind of where he stands in general. What do you make of their economic policies?
Well,
you said for
what
basically what you were saying is that for foreign relations,
right,
Trump is the better pick externally, but internally for the United States. But internally for the United States, what would be your preference?
Okay, so none of these are my preferences. I'm just trying to everything we do is just about reading signals and trying to adjust the odds. So we're just working with odds and what the likely scenarios are. Right? So we'll have to entertain both outcomes in terms of the odds. So I think that Trump's philosophy is more libertarian in that he believes in more free market policies. So there are two different types of modern economic structures. I will leaving out planned economies. So we're not talking about Cuba or China, right? Even though China is kind of different, but we're not dealing with planned economies. We're dealing with economies that are modern and have free trade. So they're Keynesian economies that essentially have a mix of free trade, but they believe in a certain amount of regulation to come in, and the government should play a role in how resources are allocated, right? So they believe that some industries should be regulated, some prices should be set by the government and not purely by market dynamics. But libertarians are hardcore capitalists. They believe that everything should be strictly dictated by market conditions and that there is little to no need for regulation. So Trump leans a little bit more to libertarian philosophy, and as a result, he is not as ready to implement heavy taxes on corporations as Harris would. So Harris is more, she's leaning more left. So she's more Keynesian, but she's also tilting a little bit towards not necessarily a planned economy, but to have heavier regulation. So she wants to implement taxes on unrealized capital gains, not just regular capital gains or realized capital gains, I should say, but unrealized capital gains.
When I first heard that, I was like, that is insane. But it's specific. Yeah. It's unrealized capital gains over $100 million. So that is like the 1% of the 1%.
But we have to also think about pension plans, 401ks, because that's going to affect the average man. So is it really 1% to the 1%? Because if you have a pension plan that is for firemen or policemen or teachers who are everyday people who work hard, and that fund that controls tens or hundreds of billions, and they have a 30% capital gain or 20% capital gain, that's still a significant amount. It would fulfill that criteria that you mentioned. And if that fund has to pay higher taxes on its unrealized capital gains, it means that the pensions or the pension plans of those individuals who work hard every day are going to have less returns because the returns are net of taxes. So it's actually a wealth destructive policy. It starts to be a wealth transfer from high net worth individuals, persons who own the factors of production, to the everyday man, but it's really not when you look at it from a pension standpoint. Because most pension funds in the US, especially the large ones, there are a lot of mega funds that control entire industries in terms of who manages the funds on their behalf. What it will do is that it will set prices back as it relates to their pension payouts. So that's not good. Also, what that is likely to do is discourage American entrepreneurs from setting up shop onshore in terms of where they register their enterprises. They'll just register the enterprise in another territory, like Ireland, for argument's sake, or Cayman, or St. Lucia, or Barbados. So that is actually not beneficial in terms of tax revenues for the US. And the US economy, even though it's growing above its average pace now, when you look at longer term projections, that's not likely to hold up. So again, it's a balancing act. So on one hand, Trump is less accommodating to immigrants, but want to increase manufacturing in the US, and he wants to push enterprise, and he wants to have more business-friendly tax policy. But on the other hand, Harris is saying, okay, I want to be for the people. Large firms need to pay more in taxes. And I really think it's a matter of the approach, right? So I don't think taxing unrealized capital gains is the way. There might be more benefits that could be offered to these firms to say, look, if you pay 2 percentage points more in taxes, or if you have more of your assets registered in the US, you get another break here, or you get preferential terms as it relates to purchasing land, or whatever the case may be. It's really give and take. And again, I'm not a politician, so I'm not really in a position where I can say, hey, I know it all. There are other variables at play. There are things that are not mentioned to the public. There are definitely very real forces behind the scenes. So we have to take everything with a grain of salt. Even outside of the typical promises in an election cycle, we have to factor in the US is likely to go to war in the next 5 years. I know there are a lot of rumors around it, but it's only a matter of time when you look at how Russia and China have been coordinating their activities in the last 3 years. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but even US military intelligence experts have said the same thing. And I'm really taking their guide. If they have information that we don't have, and they're saying, look, it's only a matter of time, then work with it. Oh, yes, I forgot to
And
mention.
so the play is Texas Instruments.
Yeah, and healthcare is a good area to look at. As I mentioned before, energy is another area to look at, because even though there's a lot of talk of green energy shifting to EV, in terms of the infrastructure, it's very difficult to totally move away from carbon-based energy sources. So what we're finding is that the further you have to drill for oil is the more expensive it becomes. And oil is actually a finite resource. And that is why many of the largest oil producers in the world had to look for new sources of oil, because the closer the oil is to the surface, is the cheaper it is to produce. And Guyanese oil would be closer to the surface than oil in older fields, because most of the reserves would have been exhausted. So energy is actually scarcer relative to demand than most of us realize. I'll say that again. Energy, carbon-based energy is actually scarcer relative to demand than we realize. So a lot of the prices that we've seen, especially this year, is not actually reflective of true supply-demand dynamics. A lot of it is because of OPEC's activities. So when OPEC comes in and floods the market with extra barrels, then the price will move. Or if OPEC comes in and announces cuts, then the price will move. But if it wasn't for OPEC coming in with these ad hoc decisions, which are hard to predict, and we were to see a true supply-demand dynamic, then oil prices would be much higher. They'll be much closer to $80 or $100 a barrel. And if it is that the US goes to war, which is being argued as something inevitable, well, it's a matter of a cycle. So even if you look at it in terms of cycles, it's likely that it's going to happen again in the near term, at least in the next 5 years. It means that energy demand is likely to spike, because it takes a lot of energy to mobilize a war machine. When you're thinking about logistics, thinking about ships, jets, a lot of these weapons that have to be mobilized, it takes a lot of energy. I think it's either the second or third largest line items on our military budget, energy. So energy is definitely a good opportunity to look at, and it's quiet. Not a lot of people understand energy, but can they stick to the big names, the Exxon Mobils of the world, etc. You don't have to go down a rabbit hole. They pay steady dividends. They're cheaper than many of the other sectors like tech. I think it's even cheaper than healthcare in terms of the PE multiples. So it's a huge overlooked sector, and oil or energy, I should say, as a sector, it has created wealth for many persons. So it's another area to look at.
Well, thanks so much for explaining. I saw Kemoy saying, thanks for explaining this. I want to thank you too. It was a great discussion. I love having discussions like these. Thanks for coming on, Julian. Always
Anytime,
appreciate
Kalilah. You've been there from the very early days of my career, so anytime.
We will take our final break, and I just saw some breaking money news in my inbox. I'll share that with you when we come back. Is like a child at an amusement park. If you don't give it some rules and tell it exactly where to go and what to do, it's gonna get lost and in trouble. If you've ever found yourself wondering, where did all my money go? Build Your Budget is for you. If you've been trying to plan for a big purchase but feel like you will never get there, Build Your Budget is for you. If you need a flexible spending plan, Build Your Budget is for you. And if you're spending more than you earn, Build Your Budget is for you.
You know, and ever since downloading that budget and actually applying it, you know, I paid off my credit card, I paid off my tuition loan, and I bought my first pair of Tory Burch.
Hey,
And it was in the budget.
How important it is to budget, how important it is to plan your money, to tell your money where to go, and how important it is to hold yourself accountable.
So, are you ready to accept this mission? Click the button below to get started. So go to moneymissionja.com and you can download the free Build Your Budget template. So final comments, and actually before final comments, I just saw some breaking money news in my inbox and I'm going to share that with you right now and read it live on set. This literally just came in, a press release from JPS. It says 20 minutes ago, but I just saw it because I was doing the show. Reduction in fuel charge on bills this month. Let's zoom in. Let's read this together. What is JPS saying now? Because as you know, we got those exorbitant light bills last month. They warned me that I wouldn't be ready. I was not ready. I wasn't ready. My bill is usually $20,000 to $25,000 a month. And I was like, okay, it's going to go up because this is the Kingston bill. Remember, I have 2 residents. And because we had no light in Mandeville for a month, I brought the kids to Kingston for the month. And it was hot, like you heard in the report, hottest summer on record. So we were using the AC. So I knew that that light bill would go up to maybe, I was expecting about 40. And then they said that I wouldn't be ready when I saw the bill. So I adjusted my expectation. I said, okay, it's going to be probably about 50. The bill come on, it was $60,000. It's like, Jesus Christ. Okay. So let's see what JPS is saying now, because you know it has been all up in the news, a very controversial topic. They sent out this email saying reduction in fuel charge on bills this month. Dear valued customer, we are pleased to inform you that your bill for September 2024 will reflect. Why did I think that they were reducing part of the bill from last month? Why did I get my hopes up that they were rolling back part of the $60K that I have to pay? No, September. We're pleased to inform you that your bill for September 2024 will reflect a significant reduction of 34% in the fuel charge component. This adjustment will have a positive impact on your overall electricity bill for the month. The fuel charge is a significant part of your bill. It varies each month based on factors such as the types of fuel used to generate electricity and the overall demand for electricity during the billing period. Following the disruptions caused by Hurricane Beryl and the subsequent stabilization of fuel variables, the fuel charge has moved from $32.17 on August bills to $21.30 on September bills. JPS remains committed to transparency and ensuring that our billing practices comply with all legal and regulatory requirements. We continue to prioritize delivering stable, high-quality service to all Jamaicans, blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so they're saying the fuel portion of the bill is going down. It must go down. It has to go down because based on the explanation that they gave us for the August bills, that was an exception. Due to Hurricane Beryl, they had to shut down the LNG plants that typically provide the energy to create the electricity. And because they had to shut down the LNG plants, they had to turn to a more expensive source of fuel, which is HFO, heavy fuel oil. So naturally, if that was a one-off because of Beryl, the fuel charge is going to come down on the September bills. So they get me all excited with a press release, but it is what was already expected. But I guess that's PR for you. PR team is doing their job over at JPS. I get excited over nothing, but hey, so it go. Let's take some of your final comments. Let's see what we have here. Russell says juice is marketed as a healthy option, and with it, they charge a premium. David pointing out that right now, patty I sell for $360 for one patty. Shells says in Jamaica, juice has always been more expensive than soda. Roger says Texas Instruments is trading at 199.85. 199, are you out of your mind? Sean says, Julian, I predict World War III. Ooh. Raquel says, in 2001, my econ teacher told me I may see bread selling for $50 and we all laugh and ask how we would survive. Bread now is what, like $400? Yeah, I don't even look at the prices anymore. Kemoy said, I took a break from the debate to come here. Appreciate having you here, Kemoy. Marvin said, this guy thinks far in the future. Julian, yep, that's his job. They're supposed to look at the trends and anticipate what the next big thing is. That's where the money is. The money isn't in jumping on the hot thing now. The money is in jumping on what you expect to be the hot thing next year and in the next 2 years. You get the deal before it becomes hot. By the time it's hot, it's too expensive. Look where NVIDIA is now compared to where it was 2 years ago when Julian first told us about it. Kish says, running 4 ACs, I spent about 30 to 40,000 for August only with 4 AC. Wow, where do you live? Because with 3 ACs in that house, the bill was not 30 to 40,000, I can tell you that much. And that was a couple of years ago. Javier says, the real issue with JPS is that the meters seem to have been affected by the storm. And then Javier says, $600 basically for bread. Is that much now? I tell you, I don't even look at the price anymore, because if you look at the price, you'll never buy. You'll say, I can't afford to eat. $600? Wow, it is insane. So yeah, a lot going on. Oh, did you guys see the news from Scotia that they are looking to introduce Apple Pay and Samsung Pay in the near future? When did they say again? I think it said 2025. I posted it in Money Mission. When is it? Next year. Scotia looking to offer Apple Pay and Samsung Pay by next year. Is that something that you would be interested in? Do you want to see Apple Pay and Samsung Pay in Jamaica? Would you use it? I know a lot of people here. There's been Link. It hasn't taken off, hasn't become as popular as expected. We gave it a try with Jamdex, also didn't take off. Do you think people will be open to using digital payments more if it comes with the brand name of the Apple and the Samsung? And would it make you more inclined to use it? Let me know in the chat. Maybe we should ask that for next week's poll question. But interesting times ahead. I see a lot of excitement in the comments from the article. And over on Money Mission, people seem to be interested in having that service here. I see Javier says that would be great. Saves us the time of going to the ATM. And Simple Knowledge telling me that I need to run inverter AC. My AC is inverter. Still expensive. I think it's because I have a Kingston 6 address. You know, they look at these things too. Marvin says the infrastructure is needed. Where is it? Infrastructure is needed. All right, that is going to do it for our show this week. Reminding you to go hop on over to moneymissionja.com. Take a look at our new website. Tell me what you think. You can do it during the commercial breaks of Trump-Harris. And while you're at it, join the community. We'd love to see you in there. So let me thank our hardworking production team led by the able and wonderful Sachelle Williams this evening. Thanks to our editor, Jalen Foster, to our social media team led by Izzy Ramsey. Who else we have? Anthony Morgan. Well, you see the list in the credits. Kevon Brown. Claps for Kevon. And when you look at the website, he's the one who designed our website, Kevon Brown. You can find him at Voto Studios if you want to give him some work, because the man knows his thing. Yeah. So big ups to Kevon, who designed moneymissionja.com. And big up to the entire team, our sales team, Renee Williams, Oreen, videographer. So this is the thing, when I start calling out names without planning that I was going to call out names, you run the risk of forgetting people. So sorry if I'm not mentioning everybody, but big up to the entire Money Media team. And thank you for joining us tonight. Go to moneymissionja.com, download the free Build Your Budget template. We have other free downloads there as well. TheMoneyDictionary.com. The Money Dictionary is on moneymissionja.com. We also have, I don't remember what's all. Just go to the website, get your free downloads, and join the community if you are minded to do so. I will see you again next week, same time, same place. Until then, let's get this money.
Let's get this money.